I treat every patient like they're my family. Like that's the most important thing to me. So I'm always like, in the back of my head, I'm like, would I do this for my mom? Would I do this for my dad? And I want to give them the best care. And you can't be restricted with that, right? For your mom or your dad, you're not going to be like, oh, I'll only do what insurance will cover for them. Yeah, right?
All right, so we're rolling here. I have the pleasure of having Dr. Gaitan here. I'm gonna ask him to introduce himself a little bit. We were just talking about your background, so go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what you do. I'm sure we can all see the shirt, but let's tell us all this hard work. Where did it bring you today?
Of course, yes. So I'm Dr. Sergio Gaitan. I'm a board certified dermatologist in Miami, Florida, and I specialize in cosmetic dermatology and laser, skin rejuvenation, keeping people looking young and natural.
And this is a terrible place to be for that. I mean, Miami of all places to try to keep people pretty and young.
It's great, man. It's actually pretty easy.
That's wonderful. I think that's probably the number one thing people want out of their doctors nowadays, and people are spent.
Yeah.
So I would love to go through a little bit of background, how you became a dermatologist, how you got to this stage, and then what kind of made you open your own practice. So where did you train? What made you want to be a doctor?
Perfect. Yeah. So when I was in undergrad, I went to UF and I studied chemical engineering.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
And so my wife, I've known her since UF, and we've been together, and she said, the chemical engineering, you work like on a ship, Texas, somewhere. She's like, I want to be in Miami. And so there wasn't going to be any chemical engineering in Miami. And so she said, you should be a doctor. I said, well, we'll give it a shot. So then I went to medical school, did great, and ended up doing a residency in dermatology. In medical school, I wanted to be a pediatrician when I first started because I love kids. But sick kids is a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
And so, I'm as an engineer training, I'm very like data driven, like technical. And so for me, it was going to be radiology or dermatology. And so it was either, be in a basement or be outside. And so,
which I would have said, as an engineer background, the basement might not look so bad.
Yeah. And so I chose dermatology. I went to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And I trained there for about 3 years. Then I came down to Miami, and we've been here since. I worked initially for a couple practices for about 7 years, one practice for about 6 years, one practice like about 9 months. And eventually I opened my own practice, which we opened about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And, we started a practice, and we wanted to make it a self-paid dermatology office, get insurance out of the way, just direct. I'm the specialist. I have the skills. You need me? Come and find me.
So the two previous practices, let's go back a little bit further. So where did you do medical school?
In Baylor College of Medicine in Houston.
Oh, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
Good football team too, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's great. Your educational background's fantastic. So you go to work for two different places. Yeah. One for longer one was first?
Yeah, first, exactly.
Okay, and then 9 months. So you were trying to be a partner. You were trying to work with somebody. Yeah. And were those practices accepting insurance?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
So when you first get out of residency, you kind of take the first job. And so I was kind of like in the Dayland area, great practice. It was run by a doctor, very good. But, my true passion is like cosmetic derm. That's what I like. I like looking young, so I had to invest in that for myself. And then, so it wasn't growing in that. I was doing a lot of like skin cancers, I was so busy that my cosmetic patients couldn't see me. Right. It would be like, oh, he's booked 3 months. But, when you want to look good for a party or something, I got to get you in.
Yeah, right away. Yeah, exactly. You need to have that time to, depending on when the party is and what the procedure is.
Exactly.
Between the procedure and that party.
Exactly.
And depending on what it is, right?
Exactly. Or
what do you recommend?
An event, a wedding, you know how it is. Yeah. So, and then eventually I moved to another practice for growth. That was in Doral, kind of like in the City Place area. Mm-hmm. And, but it was kind of pretty dead there. And so eventually, I started my own practice in West Kendall, which is cool because that's like where I'm from. I was born and raised in West Kendall.
There you go.
Actually the only dermatologist in West Kendall, which is really nice. And so one of the cool things since we've opened our practices, we've brought in like the latest in laser technologies. So I have like a laser in every room. In fact, I got another one coming. And so we really like, you know, for me, lasers are like, as an engineer, they let me do things that I can't do with creams, or like, I always tell patients where the hands and creams can't get, the lasers get there. And so.
When did you graduate engineering from UF?
09.
09.
Yeah.
So I think it was the early 2000s and probably beyond that the engineering was the #1 accepted undergrad into medical school. So I don't know if you knew that, or you just accidentally fell into that.
I guess that's why it worked out.
I'm a little older than you, so I did engineering as well. I did biomedical chemical, but I did not finish. Ended up doing 3.5 years. They killed the program at my school. And here we are. Now we're having an interview, and you're the medical doctor, and I'm just trying to help out over here. So, but going from, I understand lasers and beauty is cash pay, but you literally kind of flipped your whole business model upside down, because you were accepting insurance. That is a different animal. And I would even go as far to venture as there's a place for that, especially when you have certain skin conditions, cancers. I get all that. But you're booked 3 months out. I may be freaking out about one of my rashes, moles or something. I can't see you. And I think that's where we're allowing the population to become very, I don't want to use the word disgusted, but not pleased with medicine. So you're taking insurance, you decide that, you know, I really like this cosmetic thing. I'm going all in on that. What made you like come across that? That's a completely different avenue than most dermatologists.
To not take insurance?
Yeah. What made you decide to do that?
Oh, so in the practice. So when I would practice, I would tell you insurance limits what a doctor can do. And, you know, I trained at Baylor College of Medicine, top medical school. It's, you know, I was spoiled in having like the best education, having specialty centers, MD Anderson's right next door, Texas Children. And so I grew up thinking that everywhere was like this. Then you come down here and it's a whole nother ball game. And I'm like,
even though you're from here, even though you kind of knew that, but anyway.
No, but I was never on the medical side of it.
That's a great point.
I was just a, you know, just a regular person. And
so you thought it ended down here. No, Miami's just crazy.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
And so when I get to Miami, you know, I'm like, wait a second, like this is different. And so I'll give you an example. Like I'm treating an acne patient and I say, you need this medication. Insurance doesn't cover it. Can I get an alternate? I'm like, well, the alternate's not going to work. But if you want to, we can try it. So you have to try it, you have to fail it. And then you can use the one that the expert thinks you should have.
Right. Your hands are tied.
Exactly. 100%.
We go through this all the time as well. We do internal medicine, as maybe you know. And imagine like this is, we already, this beta blocker doesn't work. This, you know, doesn't work. And we have to try them anyways. And
exactly, which doesn't make sense, like from an engineering perspective, right? So as an engineer, I mean, 3.5 years, you got the basics down.
I map out a little bit. Now you know why I map out up here, right? Okay, anyways, but So you're algorithmic, which it also works very well as a physician.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So you have problem, you need to get the solution.
Yeah. What's the fastest
The straight line is the best.
Right?
Exactly.
This is math, people. This is basic math. Let's go straight. What does insurance do? Woo! Exactly. It looks like a Pac-Man game.
Sometimes backwards.
That's a great point, back around. The least efficient way.
Yeah. And
that's probably why it's so expensive too.
As an engineer, when you design systems, you want them to be efficient. And so working in the insurance model is working in an inefficient system. As an engineer, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
So it was simple to go for me to do self-pay. Now it's a little bit crazy. You know, everyone was like, "Whoa, how are you going to get patients? How are you going to get that?" Lucky for me, I've been around like 7 years. So the patients that have seen me, they know the quality of work that I do, and they know that, you know, at the end of the day, like in my practice, I treat every patient like they're my family. Like that's the most important thing to me. So I'm always like, in the back of my head, I'm like, would I do this for my mom? Would I do this for my dad? And I want to give them the best care. And you can't be restricted with that, right? For your mom or your dad, you're not going to be like, oh, I'll only do what insurance will cover for them. Yeah, right? And so it's when you leave insurance, it's awesome because you're able to innovate. Because before you'd be thinking like, oh, can I get this done? Oh, insurance is not even going to cover. Like, what's the point of even thinking about it?
They change your algorithm.
Correct. They completely change it. And so since I've been in practice 1.5 years, And we've already developed like these new laser techniques for different skin conditions, which would have never happened, taking insurance, because I wouldn't even think about it. I was just like, how do I get the patient the medication they need?
Right.
Like that was my first. Now that I can get them the medication easy, I'm thinking, how can I solve it faster?
Yeah, I guess, from an engineering perspective, I still remember some stuff. Yeah. The resistance created in the normal system of insurance, there's so much resistance, which causes so much friction. It doesn't allow you to think, be creative. It allows you to, how do I find the maze that has the least amount of problems that I'm going to get back, whether it's a prior authorization or this, what med could I just get you? Because they beat you down to the point where you're like, fine, just get the med that I don't even want to give you, that I never thought of.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the one you're going to have to get. Yeah. And you hope it works. And even though you're already in the back of your mind, or at some point in time, I'm sure you get so beaten, that just becomes the med you go to.
So I never went there, luckily.
Yeah,
I left the system first.
It's interesting. I never thought about it that way. It's like kind of almost a prison maze. If you're in insurance, I don't care. So that's cool. So then you started getting the lasers. You got really into that. We're talking about some of the other things you do. So you love the lasers. You focus. You've been able to develop some techniques which have better outcomes. And you've been able to think back, get away from the chaos, which is insurance driven, and say, you know what if we do it this way? This came out better. What else do you do, and what else makes you excited to go to work every day?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just like helping patients. And that's the cool thing about medicine. You get to change people's lives. And I feel like you lose that when you were seeing patients with insurance. If you're trying to see a patient in 2 minutes, you can't connect with someone. And like one of the great things about being a doctor, like the old days that I would hear from the other doctors when I was in medical school, is that you would meet your patients. Your patients become friends. Like for me, my patients become friends. They become family. And so when we're out there innovating, we're driven by that. So it's like, how can I do this faster? How can I do it better? Because I'm doing it for my patients. And so that's kind of one of the cool things about being like a self-paid dermatologist.
So you had a bunch of naysayers. You go from taking insurance, you had a fallen because you treated your patients, right? They don't all come with you.
No,
you took a big risk going cash only. You take insurance, you're full.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Every dermatologist that we've dealt with, that takes, most of them take insurance.
Yeah.
There's one that doesn't, that I know of in this area. They, within a few months of opening up the panel or moving to Miami, they're full because there's so much demand.
Yeah.
And because it's insurance driven, everybody's backed out 2, 3, 4 months. I've seen one person in less than a year get 3, 4 months backed up.
Yeah.
And then we have to find a new way. So that's the safe way. You did a lot of school.
Yeah.
You're going to make decent money. Reimbursement for dermatology is not bad. You're like, I'm going to go do this. So you had no doubt, you're ready to go. You didn't worry about it. You just said, let's go, let's jump.
Just trying to do it better, man.
And how long did it take you guys to, how many machines did you start off with?
Our first laser, we got our first laser a few months in. Now we're at 4, getting a 5th. And I'm out of space for them, but I have enough to solve the problems I need to solve.
Okay.
And so
that's a good problem to have, that you're running out of space, by the way. That's congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So before you got that first laser, what were you doing?
This general derm surgeries, as a dermatologist, we're able to do warts, urgent issues. I got this bleeding thing. That was the cool thing about us, that if you had a problem, you called us, we get you in the same day, maybe same week for sure.
Yeah.
And that's not realistic in dermatology here.
And are you still doing the same thing now as someone has?
We still do it. Yeah, we still reserve. One of the things when we start our practices, we always wanted to reserve spaces for emergency cases or someone. So we do have that. Yeah.
I have a dear friend of mine. I just saw her before we got here, actually. She's a derm, pediatric, so. And I was on the phone with a friend of mine. I had a horn growing out of here. I actually had a podcast with the next day. And I had heard her say, if you ever have this problem, and I'm too old for this to be getting horns coming out of my head. And then she literally walked me in. I got on the phone. I was back on the phone within a few minutes with my friend.
Yeah.
I was like, that is how medicine should be.
Yeah.
I was like, that was amazing. And by the way, it only took me 10, 15 minutes because I talked to her for a few minutes after the procedure.
Sure.
And then, sure enough, 99% of it gone, barely could tell. like camera, everything came out fine. You know, had I not gone to her, I would have looked absolutely terrible. So that, I was like, this is, and we do the same thing from an internal medicine. I was just like, man, if more people had access and knowledge to this and got out of their minds, and not everybody's going to want to pay cash. I don't try to talk everybody into it. I would love to hear what you guys do to grow your practice. But like that kind of, oh my goodness, I spent 15 minutes total between parking and getting back to my car. And because I had a few minutes with the doctor after the procedure too, I was like, that is worth every penny. If you are working hard and you're doing well, or you work for yourself and your time, or time is money to you, or time is important to you, you have a family and you have kids, that's how I want it to be. And if I need more time because I have a problem, whether that be like one of the specialties around internal medicine, cardiology, gastro, fine. Let's sit down and really discuss what my options are, right? So I think, you know, having that access is fantastic. So what did you guys do to grow your practice then? What did you do?
Word of mouth. I mean, I think word of mouth is the biggest thing. And we're really results-based, you know, like on Instagram, we post our results. And at the end of the day, word of mouth, I think, is the best. You know, we did like on Instagram, you start doing like content and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, word of mouth is king. Like you get an experience like no other place. And that's what I tell my wife. I work with my wife. I say, we want to give them an experience that no other place can give them. And that's all we focus on. We focus on them. You know, that's our top priority, and it'll eventually, you know, it grows itself doing that.
And so how did you map out, like, did you map out that experience? What was the thought behind that experience when you guys wanted to provide that?
Yeah, so when I was working at the other practice, the biggest thing that I hated was that patients had to wait like 2 hours. It was so like frustrating for me. And it's exactly like you said, you know, that I value my patient's time, and that was unacceptable for me. And, you know, I would say, hey, this is unacceptable. And they say, well, that's how it is everywhere. I said, well.
Isn't that bad when our standards are so low? So you're like, that's number one. I want to get rid of the long wait times.
Yeah, correct. That was like my top priority. And exactly like you said, imagine, now you have a friend that's a dermatologist. So you have that access. But not everyone has that.
Nope.
But now they do because of us.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, and this is where I'm seeing more and more specialists move to this model, which was not really common before. And it's because it's also, it is a friend, but that's what we provide for our patients. We get them, for the most part, VIP access to a lot of different care providers. Some of them are like, no, I just want to use my insurance, except for you, I'll pay you. So it really depends. It's patient-based. But yeah, if you can do that and just... We have limited time here on this earth, and we don't know when that card's going to be called. So
for sure.
If you can pay a little bit more or go in that route, I obviously think that's the way to go. That's what this is about here. So you based on the experience, that was the number one thing you want to get away. They don't teach you business at all in medical school. They don't teach it in engineering. Correct. They don't teach it in nursing. So how did you guys go about learning that? And I'm saying you all because you just mentioned that you work with your wife, who's a registered nurse, right?
Correct, yes.
And so you guys jump into this completely new system. We're going to go concierge, cash pay. We're going to give better service. That's your model. And we're going to focus on the aesthetic laser side, keeping people pretty. And if you have something in between that's urgent, we're going to take care of you. So how did you get to learning about that and figuring that part out?
So we're still learning. As you know.
You'll never stop, by the way. I learn every week. I'm like, shoot, I didn't know that.
I get my business degree in practicing business. That's how it is. As an engineer, we're good at numbers. So, you know, you make some projections, you make some calculations, you know, make it solvent. And then once you're solvent, then it's just growth. And so we're at that stage now where we're in the growth phase. And so that's nice.
Everything mapped out in your office from like an engineer's perspective,
so
like how you guys operate?
We actually got really lucky in that when we were looking for a place, it was already like built as a clinic. And so it was easy to just like, you know, we have our waiting room, we have the front desk, and honestly, our waiting room is like for 2 seconds if you want a coffee
or maybe a quick paperwork.
Exactly. All our stuff's digital.
Okay, awesome.
And then we do. Then we had the rooms already built out, and so it wasn't like much from a design. It was already designed pretty nicely. And so that was taken care of.
And then the experience works like in an efficient way. I feel like you work in efficiency, but you give time, right? Like
correct. Yeah. So it's about time. Yeah. Like when you're efficient, you're able to give more time. It's because you're not running back and forth. You know, we try to do things with our patients. Like we give them appropriate time, because a lot of the skin problems, we'll say acne, rosacea, melasma. Patient education is the most important part, because you know I can give you a cream or I can do laser, but if you don't know what to do at home, it's not gonna. You know, the lasers will work, but the other stuff, the other stuff,
if you don't use it right, like patient error
won't work as good.
User error.
Yeah, exactly. And so the time was always important because of the education aspect of it. So I'll see so many patients I saw a patient the other day, he had a rash for 10 years, saw so many dermatologists, and I said, and what do you have? Do you know what you have? And he's like, I have no idea. I said, okay. Well,
and it still wasn't handled.
It still wasn't handled, yeah. We saw him, we diagnosed him, a month later, he's doing fine.
Yeah, because people don't have the time to actually talk, to make sure things.
Check the history, figure it out, and see what's been done. So yeah, it's mostly about, that's one of the cool things, that when you do self-pay, you don't have to overload your clinic. Like you can do, you know, we do like 30 minutes for a new patient, 20 minutes for established. And if we need to go over, we'll go over, you know, we adjust it, patients understand. But with that time, we're able to educate them. We're able to kind of meet our patients, know about them. You know, it helps us care for them on a little deeper level.
Yeah, if you know what they're doing, what they may be intaking, something that, depending on what they come for, you can think about it from a holistic standpoint and why it looks like that, or why they want the laser, or why they have a rash. And you can say, well, you know, you can walk it through them and really get to know them instead of, here's a cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know, I mean, then you wait 3 months to get that cream most of the time, right?
Or you can't get it, or it's not covered.
Right. So it's the way the medicine not too long ago was ran by the doctors.
It was.
And it was like that. There still shows about it, the little town doctor that comes to your home. And there's still, you know, this is like that pocket of that. And I think this is an opportunity for physicians to come back and say, this is how medicine's supposed to be. Yeah. Although I would say, most of the time, if you were to Google or go online, you guys are evil. You know, everybody blames the medical system on the doctors. The doctors are working in the system that is broken, that is inefficient, ineffective. So you said, I want to go a little more into that. You said like the insurance just stops medical care. Let's elaborate. Let's have some fun here. So, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of that. I've been on the side as a patient, as a businessman now, seeing how insurance can get in the way of a patient's care. Seeing how, I mean, it can even get really bad where it can be detrimental to their health.
I'll give you an example, and this was one where I was just like, this is it. I had a patient, and they had a cancerous looking lesion on their chest, and I want to take it off, but I can't. I have to ask insurance for permission to take it off. Okay, we get referral, they come back in a month, we take it off. Okay, now I have to ask permission to surgically remove this cancer. But for permission, you got to get the size of the cancer, right? So there was a delay in getting the permission. The cancer is growing, okay? So they come back to see me, and the cancer is like twice the size. And I said, I can't wait for permission. It's going to become inoperable. Right. If I wait for permission, I just had to do it. Spread. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that, and there's a lot of places, and bless their hearts, they do their best. Yeah. That they will not see you until you get that authorization. Correct, yeah. So now you're waiting weeks, months. This is like really important. Yeah. Or someone that needs an MRI but has to get a CAT scan first, or someone that, there's all these steps that slow down the process. Then try to get that the next day. Like you can't. Yeah. You just can't. So you have to learn how to operate within the system sometimes, like we do, and we maneuver and help patients maneuver it. Yeah. Or you have to learn how to just skip the most effective straight line point. Correct. This is what needs to be done. This is what it shows. I'm worried about this. Let's get this done. This is important. And I was talking to someone the other day that's in finance or about finance, I should say. And I was saying, you know, everybody talks about put your money away, put it away for retirement, and let it compound over time. And you look at your financial health throughout a life you're expected to live. You know, I think it's still 78 and 76 where we die faster. And why don't we do that for health? If you don't think about your health for the next 30 to 40 years, does that money matter? You're not going to be here for it.
Correct.
Potentially. So why are we not planning out the way we look at health and looking at interventional instead of reactionary medicine?
Correct. Yeah, and I think like the investments in health are actually not that expensive. You know, it's kind of like healthy eating, right? Sleep. They can be difficult, but they're pretty easy. You know, eating right, getting sleep, all those things help against the common things that kill us the most, right? Cancer, heart disease, and things like that. And unfortunately, you know, we're just not wired that way as humans, right? We do what we enjoy.
Yeah. I think we went a podcast with an internist. We were kind of talking about the food scientists. And I love being a fat kid. Like I love cheeseburgers and donuts and cookies. There's just cookies at the office right now for one of the girls' birthdays.
Gotcha.
I had a little piece. I mean, but on the weekend, sometimes I have a lot of pieces, you know, but your lifestyle and, you know, and we're in I don't want to use the word pandemic. We're at a very important place right now where people are starting to understand the food we're eating, especially the average American is eating very low quality food. They're not exercising, tons of cortisol from their job. We're meant to like, that's okay, you're working hard, cortisol. And all these stress factors that are coming together. And that is taking a complete beating on your body. And it shows in different ways. It
shows everywhere,
And so it shows everywhere. It could show in a rash, it could show in a heart attack. And unless you're seeing someone that can understand that and work collaboratively with someone like you, that rash is really weird, let me look at that. No, you need to see a derm, let me get you right into a derm. I don't like the way it looks. Unless you're working with someone that can take the time to talk to you, you may miss your diagnosis for a long time or not be seen for a while. And depending on what that is, it could be really bad for you or it could be nothing. But we're so used to going to the doctor's a pain. And the way it is I'm sick, let me go. This, oh my God, this itches so much, but I have a little hole in my chest and I keep scratching. I want to see a doctor. So you've seen crazy stuff, crazy than me. And it's just like, if you take care of your intake of food, exercise, lower stress, drink more,
protect from the sun,
water, protect yourself from the sun, you have most of it done. And the good thing is there are physicians out there talking about this. Have a huge platform. And that's really what it is, having good social interactions with good people that bring you good energy, not people that bring you down. That's not good for you. And like this large portion of health. And then if you can get the right people in place and invest in your health, you're going to have a good time. I
always live by the motto, health is wealth. Like, that's the truth. Because, and I learned that, you know, I think going into medicine, when I was in my intern year, that's when we took care of like really sick patients. I learned that health was wealth because, you know, I saw a patient and, you know, he had about a day to live. And I just saw him like completely change, you know, all the money in the bank, all the investment, nice watches, doesn't mean a thing.
Doesn't mean a thing. And the reality is most of us won't be remembered. I heard this recently, and Alexander the Great, what's his full name? I don't know.
Exactly.
That guy, everybody knows who he is. And, you know, we're here to make our little impact, and we can be here longer and maybe spread our family or spread some joy or take care of people. I mean, that allows us. So I think we're not paying attention to all these things. And you see someone like that, and it's a reflective point. I was with a general surgeon yesterday. I can't say their name because they were at the office.
Of course.
Brilliant doctor. And we're like moving so fast and not slowing down and being present. And one of the surgeons is sick and nobody will take call for them. And it's like, it's an illness that's not reversible.
Wow.
And nobody takes call. And so she's a good person, bless her heart. She took the call, even though he's like, nobody's going to take that call. And like, because he needed to go get a procedure to see if he can somehow get out of this. And And it's just like, we're not paying attention. We're not being good. We're moving so fast. And that may not have been avoidable, but like people aren't treating each other well. So coming back to the social thing and just being good people.
Yeah, when you say that, that's interesting. So, no other surgeon would take call for that surgeon. That kind of shows you how like beat down the medical society is.
Yeah.
Because, usually back in the day, I'm sure that wouldn't have been a problem.
Wouldn't have been a problem. He's not old, but he's not young.
Yeah,
He's a few years older than me, and she's a few years older than me, but he's a few years older than her. And it's just like, that's just sad, but that's how beat up the system is. Mm-hmm. And, I had a good friend that went through a very stressful time, and we worked at the same company together. Mm-hmm. And he was just, the stress that he was getting, his immune system dropped. Mm-hmm. So coming back to what you were talking about a little bit, the cortisol that guy and him and I had was so high, not just because it was like cutting throat sales and medical devices we were selling to you guys. But it was like also the pressure from people that didn't know how to be leaders, and they were just down your throat because they were just somehow got power. And that kind of stress doesn't bode well for your body. It can turn out into, unfortunately, we'll never know if he had less stress, if he would have never gotten that cancer. We'll never know. He's no longer with us. But on the same time, that also takes an effect to a lot of different things that can occur in the cascade of your body. I love hearing specialists going into this space. Because it is so difficult for us to find people that can see people within a reasonable amount of time, especially if they need to be seen. And then it's also really nice that you're doing the other thing that everybody in Miami loves, which is keeping people young and taking care of their skin and the way they look. And there's a lot of, like you said, things you can do to help with that. And then you take the technology that you utilize. And so what are some of the things that you're doing in the laser world that would excite people? Everybody wants to hear this, and you're holding back on us, man. So tell us, what are some of the things you're doing there?
So one of the coolest thing about our practice, the one we're most excited about, is we have like a way to like painlessly like tighten the skin. Because one of the things with aging is, gravity, right? Gravity always wins. And so you'll see like the face starts to fall a little bit. Now we used to like inject stuff in to kind of hide it and masquerade it and make up it. But I guess the stuff you inject, like it comes down with it too. So
it melts. It disintegrates over time. So the fillers and stuff.
It's not a true solution. And so one of the things we were able to do is, that's where the engineering came in, the vectors. We were able to design with laser a way to kind of like tighten the skin. So that's what I do exclusively. That's like the only treatment that I do. My wife does it for me.
I was going to say, you were saying I got to keep young too. I was like, I got to ask you that.
So I map it out for her, and I'm like, follow these instructions. And then, I do it for her, and kind of that's been great for us because, that's like, one of the things about rejuvenation, like in the past, you thought, okay, to like keep my skin young, I have to burn it off.
Right. My gosh.
And so it was like, it's okay, I'll take the wrinkles.
That's why I don't do it. I'm like deathly afraid.
It's like, okay, I'll take the wrinkles, that's fine. And then you have some people that are, no, I really want to look good, I'll take the pain. But one of the advantages of having like a man design treatments is, women are much stronger than us.
I was going to say, women don't care. They're like, give me the pain, I want to look pretty.
But me as a man, I said, no, I got to design treatments that are painless, that are comfortable, that I would do. And I wanted to give that to our patients. So that was our first like innovation there that we did with that. So that's like we call it our laser lift with microneedling. Now we have Regeron from Korea, which is it's polynucleotides, salmon DNA, salmon sperm. I don't know if you've heard of that. Have you heard of that? Or
I have. I don't know a lot about it, so feel free to elaborate.
It's polynucleotides. They were discovered in wound healing. And so one of the things is they come from salmon DNA, which is taken from salmon sperm, but it's like so purified that you think of it's a building block. And so when we do our treatments, we're kind of injuring the skin. So imagine we're injuring the skin, and now we're giving it the building blocks that it doesn't have to make itself. So imagine how much faster the recovery is. Recovery's faster, results are better. So that's what we do. And then we also have like a vascular laser that treats like any red, a scar, or anything like that. The lasers have changed recently. Like we're very lucky in that sense, because they're very expensive.
They are very expensive.
That's without a doubt. And you never know like when to buy, right? Because it's like, you know, it's like I buy this one and the next year a brand new model, and then you're sitting
It's
on
like cars, but worse.
But worse, yeah, like 10 times. But yeah, we're lucky in that, you know, I know lasers are my passion, so I know the tech. And so recently there was some quantum leaps within the last few years, and so we were able to jump on those. And so now we have like the latest in pigment to remove pigment. Like one of the things, that's one of the biggest problems here in Miami, pigment. A lot of people use like an IPL. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's like light, it's not a laser. People they sell it like a laser, or they misunderstand that it's a laser, but it's just light. And then they put a filter.
But it's not like photon. It's like just light.
So it's light. It's visible light. In lasers, we joke that an IPL is like a flashlight. But
that's a good social media post, by the way. You just walk around the flashlight. Gotcha.
Gotcha. That's like
so much.
That's like, but no, they're more powerful.
I'm just messing.
It's just a joke. So then we put for IPL, you put a filter.
Okay.
And that filter is trying to mimic the laser.
Okay.
So it's almost like a dupe, you know, it'll get you good results. But here in Miami, a lot of us are Latin. You know, we have, you know, descent from Hispanic heritage. Even if you're white, if you have like Caribbean descent, you know, your pigment cells will react to it. And so it's just too much heat. And so those treatments are great, and you'll hear about like, oh, it's laser season. Oh, we can't do laser in the summer. No, you can't do IPL in the summer.
Got it.
But you can do our lasers year round. Yeah.
That's good, because that keeps you know,
keeps us always.
I would think the time between then it would be, and then you're also in the sun all summer, so you're damaging your skin again.
Exactly.
So then it's like, please bring me the lasers.
Exactly. So we have different protocols to deal with different things. Like during the summer, we have protocols to. I always say we have a sun eraser, we got a magic eraser for pigment, we got the redness eraser, and then our tightening treatment. So
you're still an engineer.
I am, man.
He's like, look at my tools, man.
Yeah.
This is great.
And the cool thing is we combine them. So that's where the magic happens. So that's where we're able to not to give you maximal results with minimal downtime. So we're precise with what we do. So for instance, the old ways was you burn the skin.
Right.
And whatever red or brown came with it. Now we can target the browns. Okay, now target the reds. Now resurface it lightly. And your reds and browns will be gone, and you'll have that nice glaze, all without ever burning the skin.
See, that sounds interesting. Off camera, I might think about this, because the red faces I've seen have scared the living days out of me. It's
scary, man. Yeah,
I've even seen like one of my, when I was doing medical devices, a doctor that is amazing did it. This is maybe 10 years ago, probably at this point, 8 to 10 years ago, and it was like that's what it was. Like you literally burn your face.
It's a burn face.
You look like a burn victim.
It was a burn, controlled burn.
Yeah, it's like a controlled burn. Okay, there you go. See, controlled burn, and I was like, no,
I'm not doing that.
I've never ever. Coming from a male perspective, I was like, I would never do that to my face, ever.
Correct.
Although obviously the newer skin comes back, it's supposed to be better. All these things, but I guess technology's changed a lot.
Things have advanced,
and then you've been able to get your
we
toolbox.
harness it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome. That's very powerful.
It is. Yeah.
And then you also open like where you grew up, and you're the only guy.
That's cool. Yeah, that's one of the cool things that I remember I was a little kid and I had to go see a derm in Miami Beach or with my mom, but it's crazy. 30 years later, there was not a derm out there in West Kendall.
And we're growing so much, and we're just going to keep growing everywhere. Even just posting down in that area, we're going to keep building west and south.
It's growing like crazy, yeah.
So it's always nice to put your flag down. We put our flag down originally, there are some people in our area, but right next to Merrick Park, right down the street here.
Nice area.
And that mall itself and that little quadrant has grown enormous. This building wasn't here when we opened a few years ago. They didn't even break ground. Like it's crazy. This thing is like 100 stories high.
It's growing like crazy out there too. One of the cool things, like when we're in West Kendall, so that's one of the things that let us grow so fast. Buy 4 machines within like a year being out there. And so we'll have patients that will be like, oh, that's so far. And I always make the joke, it's closer than Korea. Because, we get a lot of our lasers, there's from Korea that now they get FDA approved to be here used in the US. And so we're able to apply those protocols here. And they're so advanced over there. Like skincare is the thing there.
That is, everything from the creams to the...
Yeah, exactly.
And the technology in Korea
is so advanced. Yeah.
And it's just not, it's across the board. I mean, their technology is crazy. Like they host like a technological thing annually, and it's like the coolest things, like the things you see in movies are like the things they really are doing already.
It's crazy. Like our what was our second laser was actually a Korean laser that had just gotten FDA approved. And it was, I found it just as an engineer, I had a problem, and I looked for what I was trying to solve, and I came across it. I said, wow, this solves my problem. So we ended up getting it. And it's amazing. Like there's an old laser called Frax, so it's about 20 years old. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's a resurfacing laser, right? And the handpiece is like this big, and you have to like roll it back and forth, and it takes like forever. And this thing's like a Lamborghini. Like it has a handpiece like this. I can do a full face 5 minutes. I can do a full face, chest, neck, 8 minutes. It's crazy.
Wow.
Right? So we're able to see our patients faster. When you do it faster, the heat doesn't build up as much, so it makes it more tolerable. And so it's all kind of these advancements that make everything way more comfortable.
That's awesome. Yeah. So look at that, gentlemen. You can take care of yourself, and it doesn't have to hurt. You don't have to burn your face off.
Yeah.
You said something I wanted to come back to. It was, so you were purchasing several lasers now. Yeah. Did you, so this is for people that are thinking about getting into this or something that's machine heavy, technologically heavy. Yeah. I know from my standpoint, but I want you to answer first. So are you with a bank that helps you with those things? Do you go to the company with those things, or are you like, I'm just taking care of this, so I don't have to deal with it?
So one of the things about being a dermatologist is, banks love us, and so
banks love doctors. Yeah, banks love doctors. Let's just start there. Yeah. I remember it has been very wonderful for me. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So in terms of lasers, banks love like dermatologists and plastic surgeons. So when I got the second laser, the bank was like, oh, do you want another $1 million to buy other stuff? And I was like, no, I'm okay.
I'll call you like a little bit.
I'll call you when I need it. Yeah.
I haven't found the tool I'm looking for.
So that is one advantage of being a dermatologist, that, if we want something, we're able to get financing for it.
Yeah. And so and I think that's what people get afraid of, launching their own business or launching their own practice specifically. And there's a lot of good things that come out of it. You can write that off. Yeah. And you just have to make sure that you're making decisions at the right moment. And so you're an engineer by trade, you know numbers really well. You've done a lot of calculuses, 1 through 4, and physics with calculus too, and 1 and 2. And you get, the math is good. At some point in time, you'll probably want to outsource some of that if you don't already. But you just need to understand how does that look, and get someone or somebody that, if you don't have that or you don't want to spend time doing that as a physician, that's okay. You need a team around you that can help you think that. The bank's going to give you money.
Correct.
The question is, do you want to take on that monthly debt, and does it make sense for your patients? I can tell you personally, sometimes we've been on point with it, and sometimes we haven't. Yeah. And then, I know a lot of people too that have made the wrong thing, because at the end of the day, I've been on the other side of that equation too, where I come to you to sell you a machine. Now, I've never done this. I never thought about this until I came to this side of the table where we're on the same side of the table. I always was like, why do people hate reps?
we have a joke, and it's like, you want to know the fastest way to get rid of a rep? Buy their machine.
So this is in dermatology. I didn't know this. I learned this the hard way. You want to get rid of your reps, buy their machine. You'll never see them again. They pretend to help you. It's absolutely hilarious. And so you need to know and do your research. And I will tell you from personal experience, they will take advantage of you. And you want to do what's best for the patient. They sell you with what's good. And next thing you know, you're moving too fast. So take your time. You took some time to get your first one. And now you're like, wow, you're finding the right tools that work for the way that your practice is running.
And that's what I would tell you, that I think what's really helped is, being a dermatologist, having the experience. Buying the laser was easy for me. I've been sold here, sold this laser, sold that. Everyone wants to sell me a laser. But I buy a laser when I have a problem I'm trying to solve, and the laser is going to help me solve it faster. So that's how I approach it. And probably, you know, it's very complicated. It's not easy. It's a lot of research. So I was thinking, you know, maybe in the future I'll do like some energy device-based education for all other practitioners thinking of like what to get. But then all the laser companies will hate me.
Well, maybe there's something there. Hey, I might hire you to do some, we'll do some clips about that. Yeah. But you know what though? That's education, right?
Yeah.
It's like these things are expensive.
Yeah, they're very
Most of them are six figures and up, you know,
and
or multiples.
Yeah.
And so it's like buying, what used to be like buying a house.
It's like a mortgage. Yeah.
It's a mortgage. It is literally a mortgage. And it's over 7 or 10 years. And it's a very expensive payment. So you want to get in and not be excited, be very numerical, very business savvy. And figure out what works, what is work. Can I wait for the new thing to come out? Does this solve my problem, or should I keep the way I'm doing it and then wait for that machine that comes out next year to like really solve my problem and not patch the little hole that I'm still gonna have the problem and this one's gonna solve it, this kind of solves it. You have to look at it in a very business-like sense, but also from a very treatment perspective sense.
Yeah, like it has to make sense. You know, there's a lot of lasers out there. It's very confusing. If you don't understand this stuff, you're gonna get burnt, literally.
Literally. Victim.
And so, yeah, that's one of the things that's what's really helped us build so fast. Right? I always say my first laser bought my second bought my third, and then it goes like that. Because when we get them, we already know what we're gonna do with it. Yeah, we're not like, you know, oh, they're selling me this, it's gonna change the world. I say, I'll give
this is gonna change my patient's world.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what it comes down to, giving the care that you feel is best for the patient.
And you'll have a lot of lasers now that come out and they're like, oh, this is a revolutionary laser. You know, that they use all these like keywords. They must use AI or something.
It's a Ferrari body on the same Nissan that they had 10 years ago.
Exactly. And so one of the things that's easy, and it's easy advice you can do, is you go on PubMed and you read the research. You know, I've had companies come and sell me this, and then, you know, brand new technology. And I said, okay, well, I'm not familiar with that technology. So I go on PubMed. I said, there's papers about this in 2008. Like, this is nothing new. If it would have been this good, it would have taken off. I would have heard about it.
Of course. That's a good point. That's a good quick way. And there is like some little thing for like $20 or $30. I don't remember what it's called, but I did send it to our physicians. And it was, it's like an AI for PubMed, so you can get to like the results like way faster. And it can give you exactly what you're looking for. I'll send the link to you. I haven't played with it because I'm not on your side of the table. But I think they have, so it's pretty cool. But is there anything else you want to discuss that you guys do or you think is really important for people to know? Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to, like, you know, you run a direct pay practice. I guess that's what we call it. It's a whole new game, and there's some resistance from people that are like, I want to use my insurance. But you have to understand, these days with insurance, your deductible, you're pretty much paying out of pocket for everything. And we can give you better care, faster, and at a reasonable price. We, like at our office, we accept HSA, we accept care credit, we have like financing for patients that need it. And it's just the way medicine should be. Like, and the problem is that, you know, good medicine is bad business. And that's the truth, okay? Because if you come see me and I fix your problem, you know, that's a one-time visit. Right. Versus if you come see me, I have 2 minutes, I give you something, doesn't work, you come back 2 minutes, come back 2 minutes. You know, it's good business, it's bad medicine. And so I don't run the practice based on like a business perspective. I do good medicine. My goal is to solve your problem. Why? Because you're gonna have another skin problem. Yeah, it's inevitable. You'll need me again. And you're gonna have good outcomes. So people are gonna say, look, I had a great outcome here. And I think that one of the things is like medicine is becoming very corporate.
Because it is,
And
yeah.
so it's the faster, the more we can build. What can we do? How can we optimize?
Yeah.
And so you're going to see this split, which is so sad for this country.
Yeah.
You're going to see this split in the way people see medicine. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because it's becoming more of a machine.
Yeah.
And we're really, and listen, I'm okay. Like, people can make their money.
Yeah.
But we'll be going more towards the P&Ls, the profits, which are important, whether you have a boutique practice
you have to survive.
or you have 1,000 doctors under your umbrella. It's important. You have to keep the lights on. However, I think we're going too far that way, and where you can just give incredible service, incredible results, a personal relationship where someone gets to know you, and you will get paid in proportion to your results and what you produce.
Exactly.
And so if you do something really well and you work really hard at it, you're going to get paid well. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You know, Elon Musk is freaking, whether you love him or hate him, he's a freaking genius. And he's getting paid in proportion to the problems he's solving.
That's exactly how it is. It's the problems you solve. Yeah.
And you're solving, and what I love about our industry is we're solving problems one patient at a time. And yes, we get rewarded for it. We do okay, we do fine, but man, you went to school for a long time, and so did everybody else, and you deserve to reap some of the benefits. Not burn out.
Yeah.
Practice the art of medicine.
Yeah.
And I love it, and I can't thank more people need to see this and really think about where are we going. Don't become a doctor that gets burned out. Patients are getting burned out. Doctors are getting burned out. And there is a solution.
There is,
And doctors are fighting back and opening practices where they can take care of people the way they want to.
So the problem is it's very difficult. I would say, you know, you got to be elite. You know, that's the mentality I always had. Everything I do is to be elite. So unfortunately, not everyone's elite by definition, right? But we do have, you know, it's very hard if you're graduating, you're in this debt. Like, you have to take that job. Like, what do you do? I was blessed that, you know, I didn't get that much debt. I had, you know, halfway through medical school, I got some scholarships. And so my debt was paid off pretty quick. And so that's why whenever a resident asks me for advice, I say, pay off your debt. That way you'll be able to do whatever you want.
It's freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom.
It's freedom. Paying off your debt's freedom. Figuring out how you want to practice. And some people, it's okay to practice in the system.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
But I think you have to, like, to be honest with you, if you're coming out, like, it's almost impossible unless you have like crazy some money or, you know, or you're going to go to investors, which what do investors want? Profits. So like, where do you get the funds from? You know,
I think there's one, you guys are incredible, but the people that go to college, you went to UF, you did engineering. 4 years later, you come out, you do engineering. You learn a lot. It's the same, right? Now you add another 6 to 8, 9 years on top of that before going into this real world. So getting that experience is important. So you figure out what you like, because while you're in school, it's not going to be the same thing as the private world. So like, you can come out, learn your skill set, what you like to do. You learn that you like to do lasers, you like to keep people young. You still can do all the other stuff because you're well trained. And you're like, this is what I want to focus on. This is the thing that makes me happy, makes me pleased. This is the primary focus. I still do these things because we're here to help you. I'm a doctor.
Exactly.
However, you figured that out. It took you 7 years, and there's nothing wrong with that. It took me several years too. I just got out of school a lot earlier, and that's okay, right? And I'm still changing it, and that's okay. But you know, I think that's it. So it's okay going and doing that. You don't have to change the system overnight. But keep in your mind, how do I want to practice medicine? What do I want to focus on? And how do I want to take care of my patients?
Exactly. At the end of the day, that's our motto is do the right thing. Just do the right thing, and the rest will figure itself out.
And however you get to that conclusion, that's okay. It's a personal journey for all of us.
Exactly,
And I'm so glad that you found a way to do what you're doing in the area you're doing.
We have been blessed,
And you're only going to continue to be more blessed because you're focused on the patient.
Exactly.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And the episode wasn't even over. Dr. Gaitan and I just kept talking, so I made my camera guy, Rob over here, keep rolling. So make sure to stay tuned, get all the details. We lock in why going concierge is the way, what's going wrong with our medical system, and how he has a time to make you beautiful. My ortho sports didn't say anything. And nothing. It's an MRI.
So, and here's the crazy thing. So, they cut the cost of what they pay the doctor every year. Every year, Medicare.
Oh yeah.
There's no inflation adjustment for the physician.
Right.
The hospitals have it.
Yes, you saw that. Yeah, it just came out, right? The inflation adjustment for the facility and a reduction in the physician reimbursement.
This is what's happening, okay? And just to wake you up.
Go ahead.
You probably already know.
No, yeah, go ahead. This is going to be awesome. Go ahead.
Everything is going to go to hospital care. All doctors will be employees because you cannot survive in the wild on your own.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's what they want. I don't know.
Where are they going? Are we going to a social medicine platform? Is that why they're forcing this way? Are we like, where are we going with this? And that fascinates me, right? And this is why I think the gap is getting bigger. Yeah. And so, in other countries, where there's a huge disparity between the wealthy and the working class, they're getting kind of medicine like we're talking about. And these people are getting 6 months, 12 months out. My uncle in Spain is getting, taken care of for something that would take a day here if we set it up, maybe 2 months if we didn't, 3 months, maybe 3 to 4 months if we didn't. A year and a half to get taken care of something. Had to have a bag, for like several months. As an older gentleman, that is like demeaning. And we're going that direction.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, and this is crazy. I went to go see a doctor, okay? And by my house, there is a local clinic, okay? But it's like it's a hospital. So I said, okay, I want to go see the doctor right here by my house. Can I see them? They're like, yes, but you make it a hospital fee. I said, well, it's not. It's an outpatient visit. As a physician, I know, why is there a hospital fee associated with an outpatient visit? And they said, oh, well, if you want to see the doctor without the hospital fee, you have to go to the hospital to see the doctor. So it's crazy. Like, it's one of those things where I think they're like trying to save money, but they don't see that the other person is scheming behind them to triple the cost.
And we don't have a finger on this. And you have insurances with record profits. You have hospitals, even in this vicinity, that have multi-billion dollar endowments. So they're able to buy us up. And because they become a force, they start opening around you, which is happening now, by the way. They're starting to compete with us too now. And they're going to see if there's enough of you. They have the collateral, the capital to compete with everybody. But at the end of the day, it's still a big system. And you're not going to be treated like this personally, maybe a little bit, and maybe you're handheld a little bit, but you're still going to get lost in the system. And I know that very well. And so there's going to be a need, but they're trying to take over concierge. They're going to end up trying to come this route too, for sure.
I think so. Like at the end, I always say you have to differentiate yourself. And so I differentiated myself with lasers. I know this stuff, like inside and out, and if the hospitals go and they buy lasers, I guarantee they won't know what to do with them. So that's kind of like my moat. And
you were talking a little bit earlier about like AI continuously gets better. So that we're constantly looking, how do we get better? How do we stay on top of things? We're staying on top of current precision medicine. We're staying on top of, we've been doing precision medicine before like genomics was a big thing. We've been doing it and correcting and making it better and getting better data and talking to our patients to take care of our patients. We're on top of it. And so that has, in the experience we give, has separated us. We are constantly, so now people are coming out and trying to replicate, but they don't have the person that's been constantly getting better running the ship. And this is where you guys are so important. And when you're able to run the ship and continuously get better and read and really think and read what's best for your patient and be on top of things instead of being bombarded with patients or bombarded with work or bombarded with profits, really worrying about profits, over time, it's going to stop.
It stimulates innovation, and that's the truth of it. And I can tell you from personal experience, the last year and a half, I've accelerated our treatments. I've been practicing 7 years, and we've accelerated our treatments to the point where, I'm always like, how do we keep getting better? How do we keep making it better? And then with each, as like that person you said, they did that. Okay, there was a failure here. How do I get that better? or
Right.
I didn't get quite the result I expected. How do I get that better? So they don't have that person, and that person is the one that made that. So from the outskirts, unfortunately, everything's like marketing, and so so they'll market like, oh, we have what they have at a cheaper price, but it's not the same thing.
No.
And your patients will know that, and they'll learn it. You know, some people have to learn it. They go, they experience it, but when they go, your experience should be different. If not, it's not special anymore.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, 100%. So you have to, people look at things differently, and that's where the value comes in, and that's where the results come into. What is the system? How do we continuously make it better? And from like an engineering standpoint, like you were talking about, is like there's all these moving parts in health, whether it's from dermatology or primary care, and you have to look at the system and make it and continuously make it better and keep an eye on that and figure that part out. And it's like, how do we work and collaborate and make sure we have all the data to make you the best? And people, that's where the value comes in, and the marketing does come in for sure.
The hard part is, as a dermatologist, we're blessed because I can do everything in my office. I don't need a surgery center. I don't need an anesthesiologist. So that's what lets me kind of break free. It's hard. If we used to make a joke like, if you never want to find a dermatologist, you'll never find them in the hospital. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because we're independent of that. We can operate independently of like that. We don't need it. Now, if you're a surgeon, if you're trying to do, it's different. You need a surgery center. You need like anesthesiologists. So it becomes more difficult to kind of do our model. So I think our model works well in kind of like self-isolated specialties that can survive on their own. But if you need a hospital, then unfortunately, you gotta eventually succumb to that.
So, I mean, there's a way, if you really plan out, like if you plan out your finances, you can look at your insurance and your copay and figure out, where can I invest some of my healthcare money? Find out if your company will. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But I think at the end of the day, like you have to, as a physician, you have to differentiate yourself. You have to dial in at what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what makes you a little bit different, what makes you a little bit unique. And if you can do that, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And that's also kind of like where specialties come from, right? You have skin doctors, you have urologists, you have primary care doctors. Like that's from a doctor who specialized in that organ, in that field. And then now, like for example, dermatologists, you have pediatric dermatologists, you have surgical dermatologists, you have laser dermatologists, you have cosmetic derm, you have derms that focus on specific things. And so and like anything in life, the more specialized you are, the better you are at it, because it's all you do all day, all the time. Every day. So when someone comes to me and they want to remove something, it's a walk in the park. Like, we leave it perfect, nothing, they're happy, they got an amazing result. It's why that's all I do all day. Now, if you go somewhere where they're doing this, you're doing that, they're doing that, now they want to remove this, you think they have the experience of me removing thousands of them before? No. So that's one of the good things about dermatology, that our work is like tangible and visible, like you can see the result.
Yeah.
So you know what you're getting.
Yeah, no, that's why I think you guys, we joke around, it's like, won't pay $50 for their meds, but they pay $500 for their Botox. And I get it. It makes you feel good to look good. I totally get that aspect, but
I will see patients and, they'll have like a rash or whatever, and I said, you want to take care of that? We charge like a nominal fee. We say like, well, it's $100. Like, no, it's like, this is brand. It's like, just make me look pretty.
It's wild. So it's funny, it's wild. Take care of your whole body, people, internally and externally. You'll thank me 20 years from now. Anyways, been an absolute pleasure again. So I want to keep running. We're having such a nice talk, man.
All right.
Awesome, dude. Likewise, dude.